Hey, Fairy and Finley here. I've travelled around quite a bit, thanks to Dad's work and my own life. And there was a time I was living in Dubbo. It's splat bang in the middle of New South Wales, and it's got a bit of a bad rep. And thankfully that's been well and truly fixed by now. And there's a pub there called The Commercial. And my family used to live across the road from there, and by memory it's now a lawyer's office. And the housing was provided by the church, so we were right next to it, which put us in the middle of town. And old colonial building. The house would have been, that's a good question. It was a very large house. It had the equivalency of, in size, think of it 3 master bedrooms with a lounge room of equal size and another living space and kitchen double that with an annex or 2 on the outside. So this was a huge house. And it had some of the original features. That is until one night. We learnt where all the creaky floorboards were so we could sneak out and other such. It was great. And we were right in the middle of town. Main Street was a block away. That was great. What wasn't great was living across the road from the worst pub in town. And one day, we got fed up with their extended license and constant playing music regardless as to what day of the week it was and what time of night it was, and my father took them to court because they were exceeding the law at that point in time of noise control. And most people know that after a certain hour you turn it down, you get soundproofing if you want to be a nightclub. Respect your neighbours, basically. And they weren't doing this. So Dad took him to court over it. And unbeknownst to him, he and the fellow that owns the building were supposed to be kept in separate rooms for the hearing. And one of them walked into the wrong room where the other was sitting. And the fellow that owned the pub asked Dad, "Why are you doing this? Why are you taking us to court?" Now, my dad's a rather reasonable man. He turns around and says to this man, "I would like to sleep in my own bed and not be disturbed for at least one night of the week. And my children would like the same." And that really hit the nail home for this guy. So it went through, and at that point in time, the magistrate was really had enough of all the alcohol-fueled violence that was going on in rural areas. And he ended up being lenient. And his concept of lenient towards what was going on with this case was not making the entire Varana district, which takes up good 2/3 of the state of New South Wales, a alcohol-free zone. Prohibition, anyone? It almost happened. Because some magistrate was sick of this shit constantly happening, and he finally had a family going, "We live in town. We'd actually like to be able to put our kids to bed and have them stay there." And it really didn't help too much being that kid in the front room having doof, 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 doof all the time, almost every night at 2, 3 a.m. You pass out from sheer exhaustion because you can't sleep because that's happening, and that's not very good. And that was happening to our whole family. So, yeah, the judge went, well, instead of making this entire state a alcohol-free zone, what I'm going to do is you're not going to have an extended license anymore. You're now barred from that. And you now have to keep an eye on the volume. And from then forward, they had to focus on how much decibels they could put out at any given time. And after that, the nightclub fairly well started to shut down, losing clients that really struggled. So last time I was in town and checked them out, they were fairly well a ghost town, this little pub that used to be thriving, simply because its method of functioning was taken away for very valid, good reasons. So you can't go there and get shat-faced and just drink yourself into oblivion anymore. Our laws and regulations have really tightened up on that sort of stuff, so you can't just go out and get blottoed. You have to do that at home. And I got no problem with that. It makes the streets a bit more safer. And if you really want to get that messed up, then why make a public spectacle of it? And before all of that happened, we had an incident. And of course, being in the middle of town, we had all the emergency services nearby, thankfully for one young lady. And I don't have the full story, because I was about 7, 8 years old at the time. This story basically goes, I wake up after getting to sleep only God knows when, because doof, doof, doof. Open the door, and it looks like some little magic fairy pixie has gotten handfuls of Swarovski crystals and just liberally thrown them throughout the entire hallway. And our hallway could be easily a good 20 meters long. 15, 20 meters because of the old style. And we had French glass doors, which was wonderful, lovely. Let air into the light into the hallway. That was a bit of a bat cave. Gorgeous red and yellow panes. And textured, and I liked them. What I didn't quite twig to when I opened the door was that the door didn't really exist anymore. So I'm in the very front room. I had double glass sliding doors going out onto that veranda beside the front door. I don't even know how I slept through all of this. I can sleep through a lot. And yeah, I open the door and the hall is sparkling. And I hear Mum do the whole typical mum thing of, don't come out here with any shoes on. So I was like, alright, shoes on first. Get ready for the day, otherwise I'd probably get flogged. And Mum and my brothers are out there, and they're cleaning the front of the hall, and I just had no clue what was going on. I was a bit bemused and confused, and it's like, I don't have any reality of what's going on here. Alrighty. I found out later on that during the night, a woman that came out of that nightclub was screaming rape or something like that, ran away from the pub towards the first safe place she could find, the first building, which just so happened to be across the road of our house. And the stairs led straight up to the front door. She kicked them in. She royally kicked them in and cut an artery in her leg and bled out all over the front veranda. And our front veranda was about 1.5 meters wide and about 4 or 5 meters long. She made a mess of it. And apparently the ambulance and police and all that came fairly quickly and got her sorted out. And having Mum as a registered nurse would have helped things a lot better than they would have, because you had a fully trained member of staff right there with all the pressure bandages and everything to help stabilize her before she got into the ambulance, before they even arrived. And that's happened more than once. And so this lady got sorted out, and I come out, holes covered in glitter. Mum's shouting at me to put my shoes on. And it was in the middle of summer. We were reaching 42, 44 degrees that summer. And my mother and brothers were busy washing blood off tiles at 6, 7 a.m. as the sun was rising to make sure it doesn't dry, because blood's hard to wash out, especially when it's dry, and to avoid it from smelling. So, yeah, that was the first house we were in Dubbo, and our adventures with the pub across the road. Yeah, we tell people these stories and they don't believe us, and well, this shit happens and it's real, and it's just another part of my life. It hasn't had a big impact on me. You're a kid, you don't really know any better, and your family are good enough to try and shield and protect you from all of this, but you can't be cotton swabbed your entire life. So that's the reality of nightclubs at a very young age. Of shit can go down, and if you live near one, you're gonna lose your front door. So 2 stories for the price of one, to do with the same hotel across the road when I was a kid. And thank you for joining in on story time. So, over and out from the Fairy in Finley.